Here's your wrestling news for September 1st, 2022. And we're kicking off with All Elite Wrestling as Morrissey is back with the company. On last night's Dynamite, the Wingmen, Peter Avalon, Cesar Bononi, Ryan Nemeth, and JD Drake were protesting how little TV time they've received, only to be interrupted by Morrissey. The former WWE superstar laid waste to all four men and was approached post-beatdown by Stokely Hathaway, who offered him a business card. When Tony Schiavone interrupted the pair's departure from the show and asked Hathaway why he's recently been handing out his business cards to various wrestlers, Hathaway became irate and Morrissey held him back before he stormed off. It certainly looks like Hathaway and Morrissey will be working together from now on, implying that the former Big Cass has signed some kind of deal with AEW. Morrissey's last appearance for AEW was back on the May 4th Dynamite, where he faced Wardlow, and while at the time it was said that WWE was interested in re-signing him, it looks like the 7-footer will be staying with AEW going forward. This Saturday, WWE will host their Clash at the Castle event, and the company wants to make a great impression with this unique show. The show will see SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan defend her title against Shayna Baszler, but the big story is who isn't scheduled to appear. According to sources, the current plan is for Ronda Rousey to appear now that her suspension has been lifted and aid her fellow MMA four-horsewoman Baszler in what would be a distinct disadvantage for the champion. That would be until Charlotte Flair would appear, making her return to WWE TV after months away. The reasoning explained behind the scenes is that Flair's return would come because Rousey took the SmackDown Women's title from her at WrestleMania Backlash, and the former champion is hungry for revenge. Clash at the Castle will be WWE's first premium live event of this size in the UK in 30 years, and could also be the return of Charlotte, as what good is a castle without a queen? Clash at the Castle will be headlined by undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns putting his title on the line against Drew McIntyre. The idea of a UK premium live event is something McIntyre has been working towards for years, but Reigns wasn't his first choice of opponent. For years, McIntyre and boxer Tyson Fury have teased a match in the UK, and the two-time boxing world champion is scheduled to be in attendance. One idea being considered is for Fury to jump the barricade and attack McIntyre, leading to a Reigns victory and the eventual match between Fury and McIntyre down the line. That isn't the only possible finish, as WWE is also discussing having McIntyre win and being confronted by Fury after the match, setting up a title match which Drew would likely emerge the victor of. Whatever the case, it seems that Fury vs. McIntyre is destined to happen at some point, but the question is whether the undisputed WWE World Championship will be on the line when those two face off. Now, this week's AEW Dynamite opened up with Jon Moxley, who addressed his dominant win over CM Punk in the prior week's title unification match. Afterward, Moxley provided an open contract with his signature on it, telling the entire roster that they could headline All Out against him for the undisputed AEW World Championship. CM Punk would appear to the delight of the Chicago crowd and said that he is 100% now, but questioned if he's still got it. Later on, Ace Steel, the man who picked up Moxley's contract and Punk's trainer and longtime friend, talked to the Second City Saint, pleading with him to sign the contract with some fiery words for Punk. Punk heeded Steele's call and took the fine print to sign, telling Moxley that he can't break his bones or drink his blood. With just 4 days before the pay-per-view, Punk signed the contract, confirming that he will challenge Moxley this Sunday, and time will tell if the Chicago-made wrestler can capture the AEW World title he just lost last week. CM Punk's focus this week was on Jon Moxley and the upcoming undisputed AEW World Championship match, and had no time for one fan in particular. During the middle of his promo, one fan tried to start a Colt Cabana chant, which led to a swift rebuttal by the former AEW World Champion. "I got 16 screws in my foot, which is 16 more times than that fat guy has ever gotten screwed in his life." Punk and Cabana were once the best of friends and closer than brothers, until a legal dispute with WWE caused a falling out between the pair. Punk's issues with Adam Page were also said to have stemmed after Colt Cabana was removed from the Dark Order, something that Punk has been accused of orchestrating. Cabana has since been quietly moved to Ring of Honor, and whatever happens between the two next, CM Punk had no time for any mentions of his former best friend this week. In addition to being the undisputed AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley is also the GCW World Champion and will be defending that title soon against Nick Gage. At GCW's Homecoming on August 13th, Moxley and Gage announced the title match, but Gage is putting his career on the line just to get a shot at the gold. Now GCW has confirmed that this high-stakes match will take place during GCW Fight Club weekend on October 8th and 9th in Atlantic City. Nick Gage has been wrestling for decades and would love to be GCW World Champion again, but Moxley is willing and ready to end his career for good in just 5 weeks' time. Earlier this week, it was reported that Patrick Clark, aka Velveteen Dream, had been arrested for first-degree misdemeanor counts of battery and trespassing. Later on, it would also be reported that Clark is facing more legal trouble for violating a previous probation guideline from a drug-involved case undisclosed to the public. We are now learning more about Clark's legal troubles, as PW Insider reports that Almonte Springs Police Department arrested Clark in November 2021 and charged him with possession of cocaine. Clark was also charged with destroying, altering, or concealing physical evidence, use or possession of drug paraphernalia, and having no lamps or illuminating devices in his vehicle. In April, Judge Donna Gorner sentenced Clark to 12 months probation on the possession of drug paraphernalia charge and a $213 fine for court fees with community service, though Clark's recent arrest violated his probation order. Clark made a court appearance in Seminole County, Florida yesterday, and while an arraignment was scheduled for September 28th, Clark's lawyer waived the arraignment and has submitted a not guilty plea. Clark at one point was considered a future big star in wrestling before his controversial WWE release last year, and while he hopes to one day be rehired, it seems more and more unlikely with these legal troubles. We've got news from Marty Scurll next, who was one of the hottest commodities in wrestling just a few years ago. When a story surfaced that he had sexual relations with a 16-year-old girl, though, Scurll was cut from his place in Ring of Honor and has had to make do with smaller bookings. Now Scurll has resurfaced in a surprising place, as when Matt Riddle took to social media to share a photo of a training session with several WWE superstars, Scurll could be seen at the Daniel Gracie Orange County Gym. In addition to Riddle and Scurll, SmackDown's Karrion Kross and Shinsuke Nakamura, as well as NXT's Cameron Grimes and Bodhi Hayward were there, as well as inaugural Women of Honor champion Sumi Saki. Scurll had been booked for a show hosted by Santino Marella until fan backlash nixed those plans, so while he may have trained with some of WWE's roster, it's unlikely he'll be welcomed into the company with open arms. During this week's Raw, Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins had an intense face-off, one that saw the two not shy away from addressing some real-life drama. In the middle of the segment, the topic of family came up, and Rollins spoke about how Riddle doesn't have much of a family anymore, alluding to Matt's ex-wife Lisa divorcing him after learning of an affair. Rollins also brought up Riddle's kids with Lisa, who had to see their parents split, but that was too far for Ric Flair. On his To Be the Man podcast, Flair said it was wrong for WWE to reference Matt's real-life issues and said that he didn't appreciate back in the day when Eric Bischoff would bring up personal stuff about him in WCW. Flair also said that if Rollins and Riddle were in the same place when the comments were being made, that the original bro would fight for real, sourcing that the former MMA fighter isn't even afraid of Brock Lesnar. Despite his popularity, Riddle is no stranger to controversy, something WWE were willing to exploit this week, though things went too far, at least according to the Nature Boy. Not too long ago, it was reported that Malakai Black could be leaving AEW, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. During this week's Dynamite, it was confirmed that not only is Black still with AEW, but will compete this Sunday, as the House of Black will face Miro, Sting, and Darby Allin. With the Trios match announcement officially sealed, the apparent allegations of Black leaving AEW were seemingly put to rest, at least for now. And we're ending today with The Rock, who even at 50 looks in phenomenal shape thanks to an impressive workout regimen and diet. The Rumble Bull is no stranger to a cheat meal or two, as fans have seen in photos shared online, but when he's not indulging, The Rock takes what he eats very seriously. That's according to Steven Merchant, who directed 2019's Fighting With My Family, and explained to SiriusXM how The Rock keeps to his diet. I think someone told me, maybe he told me, that's when he goes for dinner with his friends, and he has to take his food to the restaurant and have them heat it up because it's such a structured diet that he has to have. Merchant also recalled having a meeting with The Rock just before WrestleMania, and at 3:17 grabbed a dish of turkey and rice from the fridge, with the very specific note of 3:17 p.m. The Rock takes what he eats seriously, and while it may seem strange to some people, this dedication has clearly paid off for the leading man in Hollywood. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.